Okay, so hello Louise. Thank you for joining me today.
Hello.
Yeah, so this is another one of our priestess to priestess chats to help people get to know what priestess energy feels like and just to see that we're just normal girls doing normal things. We've just made choices to live our lives in maybe a little bit different ways. So, um, Louise, would you like to introduce yourself to everybody and share a little bit about what you do?
Yes, thanks, Sarah. My name's Louise Carpenter, and I am really passionate about connection with the earth and connection with the living earth, and supporting others who are interested in that to really feel it an embodied in an embodied way, so that they can know themselves more fully as part of that whole. Um, and in the process of doing that, quite often, various things come up to be cleared, and then I also assist people in that process with various healing tools that I use, including sound and essential oils. So that's in a nutshell what I do and what I'm really interested in, what really makes me tick.
Yeah, yeah, wow, that's a big part of your work, just kind of like getting really in tune with that. And I know you
Yes.
make lots of your own instruments as well, don't you? So that's really in
Yes.
alignment with everything that you're passionate about.
Yes. Yeah. Working with the metal, working with the environment that's present in the process of co-creation of the instruments, and being open to them coming through and finding their own place of coherence, rather than any kind of imposition, from me, that this is going to be a bowl about such and such, or it's going to be a particular note or anything like that. So it's a real process of of,
So,
of co-creation.
so interesting, so similar to flower essence making. Yeah,
Yeah.
really the same process. So, may I ask you what called you to become a priestess of the earth? Because I know for you it was a calling. I remember we had some initial chats or some initial emails, probably both, and you just like, I'm called. I'm not quite sure why.
Yeah.
Do you have any
Yeah.
sense of what that was about now?
My sense, because really I've I just did. It was that I'm drawn to this, priestess. The word was, it was like, I really don't know what that means in a modern context outside of a religious setting. So it was very much an unknown thing. But looking back, I think it was just an inner knowing that the process would be really beneficial, on a personal level, um, and would allow me to access places and understanding within that I hadn't managed to find elsewhere, with other processes or other modalities, which, although they'd taken me really deeply, hadn't kind of got touched on, some things that obviously needed to be touched on. Yeah, so that I think would be my take on it. And I think, there was also the fact that I already knew you and had been doing work with you on the business side, and was aware of, how you hold space, and the the honoring of how things are, um, and I guess that kind of takes us into more about what we're going to talk about. But the there was a I had a sense that it would be a process that was very honouring, rather than being a, you know, you need to do this, 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 and this in this period of time type
Mm-hmm.
structure.
A little bit like creating your bowls.
Yes, yeah.
Or allowing them to be what they are. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
Well, that's what we aspire within Priestess. That's
yeah.
what she stands for, her own unique sovereignty. So I know it's difficult to find words for these kinds of things because sometimes they can be so subtle, but kind of deep. It's not subtle that we can't see them. It's just that they're not very tangible in the world sometimes, or maybe they are. But do you have? Can you share any areas where it's helped you? You alluded to that before. Is there anything you'd like to share about where it has helped you?
Yes, it's definitely helped me, and I'm moved to say it's kind of allowed me to give myself permission to be me, and that is an ongoing process to actually discover who I am. Um, but it's given a it's made it okay to really listen to my inner knowing, to listen to my body, and honor what I hear there and what I receive there, um, especially around activity and work, and what's important in life, and the daily routine. So on lots of different levels, um, and it's allowed a rebalancing. And I will touch on an area that's included in the process, which is the exploration of the sacred inner feminine and the masculine, because I think that actually has had a massive effect for me. It's been really welcome to just to understand more and at a deeper level how out of balance those energies have become or had become, and things are shifting now. Um, and how, whilst it might be quite obvious in the outside world, it actually applies to our internal state and how we function as well. So, bringing those energies within and uniting them, to the extent actually that I find that I'm not resisting, but I find that I'm veering away from actually referring to them as separate energies, which is quite interesting. But actually, they're just parts of me, and they work together. But it's allowed me to drop out, and this again is a work in process, but I'm finding that I'm more able to drop out of, or not get caught up in the first place, this kind of pushing, forceful energy where I get stuck in my head and I'm like, I've got to get this done. This needs to be done, and I'm going to do it, and everything else goes, just gets left behind. So it's really assisted me in bringing about a more balanced rhythm, and recognizing when I'm getting pulled into that pattern, so actually I can bring myself back out of it and really honor the body, what my body's telling me, and stay much more in the heart space, so I'm not getting distracted by all the the structures and ways of doing things which actually don't resonate for
Yeah.
me truly.
Mm. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. It is again, it's quite a subtle thing because you have to have a felt sense of it inside of yourself. But I know personally for myself, it's similar. I still sometimes find myself feeling tired or feeling or realizing I haven't been honoring certain parts of myself,
Yeah.
and then it will just take a time out, a walk, or a rest to just kind of go, okay, let's just it's all right again. Sit down, have a little chat with different parts of ourselves. Yeah.
Yes.
So I'm drawn to asking you a little bit more about your earth self because
Yes.
it often happens. I'm seeing this is about my second year of going into the facilitation. In fact, it's probably towards the end of the second year. So I'm just starting to notice how things really have an impact rather than outside of myself. And what I'm noticing, and certainly was true for me, that when I discovered my shamanic archetypes, really essentially how our core frequencies are embedded in the stars, they're already in us, is that I wasn't surprised really. There was an element, it was like, oh, okay, so that's what it is. And I have a sense that's similar for you, is that when you discovered where your core frequencies lie, where you discovered where your sovereign self is, it was something that you were already doing. But I'm hearing that it maybe gave you permission to kind of go, that's it, this is who I am.
Yeah. Very much so, actually. I mean, the Venus, my Venus being in Taurus, just is making more and more sense of how I am, which is it's really supportive because it does give permission. It's well, it gives an understanding that actually, yes, this is part of my core makeup, and if I don't honor it, then I'm in trouble, basically.
Yeah.
And what I've found is that it's given me an inner strength to be able to do things differently to the mainstream, because actually my makeup is not suited to how things have been run and structured for the last few millennia. So yeah, it's been very interesting, and it's also quite challenging in a good way, but with looking at the other archetypes. So for example, my uh, Mercury and Jupiter are both in the sign of Cancer, which is, about home and tribe and family and um, emotional flow and feelings, and which are actually areas which are quite challenging for me. And up pop Mercury and Jupiter, which are about how you see the world and how you communicate and what your fastest path is to, in alignment with what I'm here to do. And it's like, oh my word, okay. It's it, it sort of highlighted for me that there was and is quite a bit of internal work to be done for to bring that about more smoothly.
Yeah, I hear you, absolutely. But what I'm also hearing is that although it might feel tricky, actually it's your fastest path. So,
Yes,
it's
that's
kind of
it.
how it is. It's kind of how your ride is going to be. I know that's
Yes,
for mine. My Jupiter's in Scorpio, which means that I have
yes,
to feel my feeling. My goodness, Aquarians don't like that too much. So it's always a tricky area for me, which is kind of
yeah,
interesting for me to say. But what I'm
yeah.
actually hearing, Louise, is that you are a true priestess of the new earth with your Venus in Taurus. So how beautiful that you are able to take that part of yourself. however you wish to. The priestess journey is not about necessarily going round forevermore, going, you know, calling ourselves priestesses.
No.
It's an inner offering.
Yes.
That's all it
Yeah.
is, and it's just a beautiful word that's got a specific vibration. Anyway, thank you so much, Louise, for sharing. Is there anything else you'd like to share? Anything else that your priestess wants to say?
Just, I think what was arriving in my awareness was the work with the elements, actually, and how that really facilitates that personal process. Just the connection with the elements at the vibrational level of priestess, in my experience, has actually really facilitated the personal work, so that it's more immediate. It's deep, but it's more accessible, I think, through that connection in with the elements.
Yeah,
Yeah. So yeah, that was just all I wanted to add.
thank you. Yeah, it's a tangible connection, isn't it, with something that you know and you connection with all the time. Whoever we
Yes.
are. Well, so
Yeah.
thank you very much, Louise. It's been a real honour hearing this and allowing you to share it widely with others. So, yeah, just so many blessings on your journey ahead.
Thank you. Thanks for the opportunity.
Yeah, you're welcome. Okay, bye bye.
Bye.